Yeah. Hey, welcome to All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH. Well, welcome. I don't know when you're listening. I don't know when you're tuning into the show. You can listen in and out of sequence. It's all good. With me in studio today, the lovely, the talented Ms. Rachel Butera.
Hello, everybody.
Dude, we've known each other, since, I want to say, when did you move to Los Angeles? You have been here for a while?
I've been here since 2011, August. But I didn't meet you till I went to CESD, which was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2.5 years ago.
That sounds about right. Well, you were in the first Voice NATO, and it was shortly after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be 2012, yeah.
Yeah, 2012. Yep. Oh, God. So a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
This is so fun.
I know. I love it. Hey, listen, I love to talk. That's what I do.
What did you, what brought you over to CESD? We don't have to go into super detail, but if
I just needed a change. I was just looking for a change. It was probably foolishness, and I don't mean that. I love CSD; they're great to me, and we've had some awesome jobs together. But I was pretty new to voiceover, and I was with William Morris, and I just for some reason got it in my head like, oh, maybe I should switch, instead of being super grateful that I had zero voiceover experience and that William Morris signed me.
It's okay.
Sorry,
it's all
PG,
right.
his 8-year-old's listening.
That's
Sorry.
all right. Well, she's heard it. That's fine.
Quarter in the piggy bank.
Right.
So I just thought I needed a change, and then I was like, why did I really do that? You know, I didn't really know why. But it worked out great because I met you, and we did Voice NATO, and I met some awesome people, and the agents at CESD are really, really great.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You got started because of the Howard Stern show, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I started dabbling in voiceover a little bit before that because people just always told me you should do it. So I started like from my corporate job just looking on Craigslist for voiceover jobs.
Yeah.
And I did like the Korean Produce Association with my like little crappy mic plugged into a laptop. And I did little stupid things off of Craigslist here and there. And I was going to Edge Studio to get a demo made. And then in the interim, the Howard Stern contest happened, the impression contest. Yeah. And then it all started to go from there.
So with your background, I mean, you're from New Jersey, right?
Yep.
And what led you just down this path? You always kind of played with voice and done impressions and things? Yeah,
I've always done impressions since I could speak. I would always mimic everybody back, as you probably did too.
Yeah.
Movies, like from the time you were a kid, like repeating every movie line in character and stuff. And like I remember driving around in my father's Cadillac. Like my father was always home during the day, and he would take me on rides, and he'd play the Kenny Rogers cassette, and I would like sing the whole thing as Kenny Rogers, but like as a little girl, you know. So he would just crack up. But they didn't know what to do with me. They didn't know what it was. They just were like, she's funny and weird, this kid, you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that there was anything to be done with it. And I didn't do anything with it until I was about 38 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great fun at parties.
Yeah. Well, apparently I was the life of the party, but I didn't know that until I went on the Howard Stern show. And then everybody started coming out of the woodwork on Facebook like, you were always so funny in high school. I'm like, who are you? You know, all of a sudden I was like, oh no, we always knew. But I guess because I was always imitating people were like laughing, and they sort of took note of it. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a way of like defending myself against bullies and stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what it was for you.
Absolutely was.
Yeah.
I had a very similar experience where I didn't know, I didn't know I grew up among a lot of, you know, my town is right on the cusp of the farming part of Grand Rapids and then the metropolitan part of Grand Rapids. We were kind of the seam. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of kids who were, you know, whose parents owned like motorcycle dealerships, and they had Marlboro Miles jackets in 5th grade, and they were little badasses, and they looked for weakness. And I'm an empathic, sweet little Dutch Covenant youth.
You're so Dutch looking.
Oh, it's horrible. I blend in whenever I go to Stockholm. Whenever I go to Stockholm, because I just go to Stockholm.
At a moment's notice.
At a moment's notice, I might just jet off to Stockholm. Who knows? But it was absolutely part of that of like, it was off of Bugs Bunny, because like if Bugs would get out of trouble with Yosemite Sam or Elmer Fudd by kissing them or being stupid, and that was kind of the defense mechanism too.
Yeah, but you're not conscious of it at the time.
No.
We were just like, it's literally just becomes, I don't even know how it gets into your system, but maybe people like us are just more sensitive to cartoons and to entertainment type things and just to certain sounds that we're able to absorb them and then spit them back out. Because I know plenty of people who don't do this and don't know how to do it, watch the same cartoons as me, the same movies as me, and yet have no inclination for it at all. So maybe it's a combination of like being sensitive, having an ear. Because I'm always trying to figure out like, why are we able to do so many voices? You know, like what is it? Is it a brain thing? Is it an ear thing? Who knows? A sensitivity thing, like a microphone? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's really pretty fascinating.
I agree. I think I've never really sat down and thought about the why behind it. It's just kind of been something that I don't know what else to do, so I just do this thing.
Yeah.
And then find, you know, whether it was, you know, for attention or, and I didn't feel like I needed or wanted that kind of attention. I just wanted to make people laugh.
I know. That's all it really is. Well, because it disarms them and they're less likely to make fun of you or bother you.
Yeah.
Although I still got abused. Like, I guess I wasn't that funny, but I had a pretty rough time as a kid and a teenager. And making them laugh didn't really, well, it didn't help the boys. The girls kind of left me alone, but the boys tortured me. Yeah, because boys don't care about funny girls, right? And that's what it is.
I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what those guys think or what they're like, because it was like being around, douchebag guys, and there were plenty of them. Mm-hmm. As a target, I never understood what it was about. I wasn't doing anything to them. And I've made peace with it. I had a fight in high school that ended all of it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Because you kicked ass.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
I kicked ass and scraped scalp is what, I mean, I don't know what happened in that fight.
I wish I did that. I never fought back, so I was never respected.
It was a weird feeling of I had grown up into a body that I didn't know that I was able to have that level of control. And I remember he punched me and I didn't roll with the punch. And that was when he knew he was in trouble. And he got 12 years of bullying, from kindergarten to 10th grade or 9th grade. He got the rage of that.
Yeah.
And, along with his head pounded into a locker. And no one ever messed with me again, but it's
like Ralphie in Christmas Story.
It's exactly that.
Once he finally beat up that dude.
Yeah.
That was it.
The Scott Farkas affair.
Yeah.
But the other part of that too was the tears after too. Like I didn't feel bad about what I had done to them.
But it's such a release.
Oh my God.
Years of stress, like you said.
Yeah.
Man, I never got that satisfaction. I never got hit. And I never hit anybody, like in the face. So that never happened. But the girls, people just taunted me. Like in the hallways, they would yell shit and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know why either. I never bothered anybody. I certainly wasn't the pretty girl stealing everyone's boyfriend. That was not the case. So I don't really know what it was. I can only imagine they were jealous of our amazing talent.
I think that's what it is, right? Because now I toast them.
Yes.
And
to you.
It's fine. Enjoy. I
actually just saw one of my tormentors on the streets of New Jersey. I just got back from there, and I saw him from afar. He was in front of a salon because he's like a big time hairstylist or whatever now. And I just was like, oh my God, I ran the other way before he had a chance to spot me. He definitely shaped a lot of my self-image and all that stuff growing up. And he was immune to my comedy. He was immune to it. He didn't care. So who knows what.
It's amazing how deep-seated the rage still is for me, too.
Me, too. I'm a very angry person, as you might have surmised by now. I can't ever stop cursing or being cynical. Now I'm filled with anger, filled with it. I go to therapy, and I don't know how to dispel it. I read all these books, like you have to be in touch with your anger, and you have to show it, and you have to display it. I do, and it's still there. I don't know what you're supposed to do with that. I would love to release it though,
Yeah.
But I don't know how. But then again, maybe it fuels what we do to some extent.
I think it does to a certain extent. I've always hated the phrase, when I'll get like, it could be something as simple as a movie review and I get worked up about it and I'm talking about it and then someone will go, geez, Kiff, why don't you tell us how you really feel?
Yeah.
And that phrase unlocks something in me that makes me want to go, I haven't even begun. Let me start telling you. You know what I mean? It's like, just because this space doesn't necessarily feel conducive to this level of emotion, I feel comfortable enough to share it in this space. And if you're uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm with you. I mean, I'm a very passionate person about many, many topics. And there's a lot of times where you're expressing it and people, they just don't know how to deal with that sort of level of like intensity. And so they're just like, all right, oh my God, you know. Yeah. But I don't know. What are you going to do?
What do you do?
I mean, you have to be able to summon that kind of intensity to do cartoons and do this and do that, you know, all this voice stuff, especially when you're standing alone in a booth and there's no one else around and you're just called upon to like bring it all up out of you.
Yeah.
Maybe the anger and the rage is like part of that. I don't know.
It definitely fueled my comedy work at Second City. It still does to a certain extent. Yeah. And certainly like characters and in particular, like sort of darker energy characters. Yeah. But I mean, I also don't get called to audition for puffballs on Disney Junior. You know what I mean? That often. Yeah. But you know, I mean, it's interesting how that stuff lives and I try to not mask it too much.
I think of you as a happy person though. I don't think of you as I feel like you, when I walk into the lobby of CESD and I'm like doing my thing, you're just like, God, she's so horrible. She's just so angry all the time. What an evil bitch.
I don't think that at all.
'Cause you seem so like, yeah, everything's good, man. Everything's great.
You're
just lying.
No, I'm not. 'Cause here's why everything is good and everything is great and I'm happy about it. I'm standing at the gate of the place that allows me to be able to live my dreams. And it spent 40 years getting there. Yeah. And, if you caught me when I was a courier at a mental institution
Whoa, I want to hear all about that.
That was, I grew up in and around it.
Wow.
My grandfather was the chaplain at Pine Rest Christian Hospital. So my mother like literally grew up on the grounds of this institution.
Oh my God.
So all of my brothers have all worked there in one way or another. I worked on the units and pre-adolescent and adolescent units. Kids, you know, that's during college.
Wow.
And did like deliveries of material management and pharmacy and scripts and worked all over. I was like a soda jerk, like the people from the group homes would come down and I'd make malts and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
So that place was, I mean, and then the mental health around Grand Rapids. So I worked in all those environments where I was like in charge of light industrial production with a group of developmentally disabled adults for a couple of years before I right when I was still in college and waiting for my first wife to graduate from college. So like, I've done my time of, you know, sitting there on Division, having a cigarette outside of the light industrial production, watching the snowfall going, I gotta figure out how to get out of this town. I have no idea how to get out of this town.
No wonder you're so grateful.
Oh man.
Oh geez.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can see that. Well, I was just telling my friend the other day, she's like, you're probably the one person that I'm actually legitimately happy for. And I said, that's because you know I've had a horrible life and I deserve it. And it's true. And I can say that without any kind of joking. I mean, are there lives worse than mine and yours? Yes, obviously. I wasn't born into brothels, but, you know, it's all relative. And it was, you know, between my father being sick from the day I was born and being tortured by these kids, it was a really hard life. So now I'm getting to enjoy a little bit of, I don't know, justice maybe, if you want to call it that or whatever.
Justice is good.
So I got it. I'm not as angry. I mean, I am angry, but I'm not as angry as like I come off. Like sometimes I do it just for effect, just to make people laugh. But I love life. I love California. Yeah. I love this. I went hiking yesterday because I just got back from Jersey. I was practically on the trail going like, yes, I love this place. I mean, it smelled so good and it felt so good in the air. And I was like, I love California. Yes. So like I do have joy within, you know, my fibers.
Yeah.
but it's just all the darkness is it's just the past, you know?
That's right.
Because there's nothing dark right now. Nothing.
Yeah.
And all that darkness that we have and that anger that we have is just this ball of something that doesn't even exist anymore. And I would love to find a way to just light that on fire and let it go, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know how. Maybe it just takes time and recognizing it over and over and over. Maybe it takes lifetimes. I don't know.
Maybe.
You know?
Maybe it's just, you know, have you ever seen Spirited Away?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like,
love Miyazaki.
Yeah. Or like it's Princess Mononoke was actually the one I was thinking of. It's
okay.
You know, there's that when the boar comes out and it's got the stuff all over it and then they kill it. And then all that's left is that iron ball.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Or iron balls.
Yeah. There's an iron ball that you're never going to be able to get rid of.
I know.
It's just there.
That's
so
true.
all you can do is figure out how to coexist with it. And sometimes, you know, it's the Hulk. It's all that stuff. It's, you know, I'm always angry.
I know.
You know what I mean? But it serves you. You can turn it on and figure it out. And you know, I live with it too.
Yeah. I think a lot of us comedy people do.
I think so too.
Most of us comedy people. I mean, nobody happy is funny. I've never met a person from California who's like, yeah, man, like it's totally and it's really cool. They're not ever funny, those people. Not ever. They're just not. It just doesn't work that way. You've gotta like have some arrows be slung at you in order to learn how to dodge them and make jokes out of it. You just have to.
I agree. There's someone had said something like this comedian named Larry Wilde did did this book about great comedians and then interviewed like Johnny Carson, George Carlin, Woody Allen, et cetera, and Jerry Seinfeld, and recorded and released these albums. They're fantastic because it's a lot like this. It's like we're funny people and we might be funny, but we're talking about the process of doing it.
Yeah.
And he talks with Jerry and he has this theory about how like, you know, you have to have had either some tragedy or challenges in life to be funny. And he's like, what do you think about that? And Jerry's like, no, I don't feel that at all. I don't experience that. I have a very happy childhood. But then you hear Larry David talk to Jerry and is like, your comedy is rooted in your hatred of other people.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see those, you know, different comic voices coming out of different, you know.
Yeah. Seinfeld always claims to be a happy person. And then he goes on Howard in, I think, 2013 interview.
Yeah.
One of the best interviews ever of all time anywhere. And Howard was trying to tell him the same thing, that you know, there's anger there. And he's like, no, not really. But as he's speaking, you could almost hear it. And if you watch Comedians in Cars, you can see his disdain for humanity and just for behavior and his arrogance and all. You could just, I mean, he's great. He's funny. He's awesome. I love how he has economy of words. He doesn't waste words and he's just so precise. But you can clearly see underline, just because he doesn't curse doesn't mean he's not angry.
Right.
Like, I hope he understands that.
Right.
Jerry, if you're listening.
If you're listening,
I hope you
Jerry.
understand that.
That's right.
You are as angry as we are. You're a Jew from Long Island. Of course you're angry. Come on.
So take me through the process of when you, how you made this transition from going from working in your office job. Or what were you doing?
I was a writer. I always wanted to be a writer. I wrote a poem in like second grade that got published in our town, not our state paper, the Star Ledger. And my teachers were like, you gotta be a writer. You gotta be a writer. You're a writer. You're a writer. You're a writer. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm a writer. I don't know. And then once I got to college, I would like write papers. I always got A's. They were like, you're a writer. I'm like, I'm a writer. Okay. I'm going to go into publishing and be a writer and editor, which is what I thought because I hated people then and I wanted to be alone all the time. So I became a writer. I was working for a music magazine. I wrote for a music magazine and automotive magazines, publishing and all this stuff. And then
were you working freelance or were you a staff writer?
I was a managing editor at a small publishing company in Nutley, New Jersey for 4 years. That was like my first job. And I loved it for a while. And then like everything, I get bored. I have like a 2-year rule, 2 years and I'm done. Boyfriends, houses, locations, jobs, everything. 2 years and I'm out. It's just my rule.
I understand.
So after 2 years, I was like, I'm doing the same interviews with the same artists over and over again. And it just was like the same questions. And I just got bored with it. So I quit and I was unemployed forever and whatever. I wound up working as a writer, a copywriter, editor, proofreader, all that for years, all through my 30s. into my late 30s. And then I just was like, I can't sit in this cubicle anymore. I was dying in a gray cubicle amongst a sea of gray cubicles at a pharmaceutical place writing, dear Mr. Vanderheuvel, or however I say your name, your diabetes medication is no longer going to be covered under your plan. It was that kind of thing that I was writing, and I couldn't take it anymore. And meanwhile, I would go into my friend John's office. We would make fun of everybody. I would imitate everybody in the department. There were like 3,000 people at this job, and I would do all of them. And then little by little, everybody kept coming in. They're like, Rachel's doing Carol. Rachel's doing Rachel's doing Glenn. Come in. And it would be like that. And so I was like, what am I doing here? I got to get out of this. And I started doing those little voiceover things on Craigslist. But then I started making the demo because I finally had some money. That's what it was. It was money. I was making so much money at my corporate job that I was able to have a good apartment, shop at Whole Foods, TJ Maxx, and save money and have enough money to make a demo. So once that was in motion, that's when it really all started to happen.
So man, it's fascinating how much our paths overlap in that way too. That's really, really interesting just to hear all that stuff.
Yeah.
When you were doing the Craigslist ads and then starting to work towards making a demo, like what kind of stuff? Were you doing impressions and characters? Were you doing ad copy, or were you doing kind of all of it and just trying to figure stuff out? Or what was your process there?
I was doing whatever I could. When I typed in voiceover to Craigslist, Los Angeles, and New York and New Jersey, whatever there was, I would sit at my little mic, my mic plugged into my laptop, and audition for it. I didn't care what it was.
Yeah.
At the Edge Studio, I was first making an animation demo and then a commercial demo. Okay. And then I didn't know what those are still my demos today, by the way.
Are they really?
Yeah, I need new ones, obviously. I had no experience then. So yeah, we did those two. And then I knew that those weren't going to get me anywhere because you send those out unsolicited, nobody cares.
Right.
But I happened to have a friend who worked at 4Kids in New York, and they needed a voice match for a character on a cartoon called Viva Pinata.
Oh, yeah.
You know that?
I know the video game, and I know that they turned that into a cartoon.
Yeah. So the girl who was voicing Beverly Badgesicle moved to LA and couldn't finish, so they needed somebody. So I was able to match it. And that was really my real first voiceover job. It paid $900 for 3 hours. And I was like, oh my God, I need to do this. This is what I need to do. I made that in a week, rotting for 40 hours at a cubicle.
Yeah.
So I did it. It was great. And then the Howard Stern contest came along, and that was just it. I entered that. I won that. And then Abrams in New York called me the next day. They're like, we want to meet you.
Wow.
And I did. And Billy Ciro, who I can't thank enough, my agent in New York, just made all kinds of connections for me.
Wow.
Including out here in LA. And one thing just led to another. And that was it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Are you still with those guys in New York?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm still with Abrams. I'll always be with them. Yeah. it was just crazy. Somebody out here heard me on a Howard Stern show and also needed a voice match for a cartoon he was doing. I was able to match it, so I came out to California for the first time. And my first LA job was I was in the studio at Titmouse with Patrick Warburton. We were there doing it together, which never happens.
Right.
It's always just a solo. And I was like, this is my friend. Billy West was there.
Oh
and
my
God.
God.
I was like, I'm moving here. I have to move here. And 4-5 months later, I was here. Well, and that was just it.
Was that the first time you had met Billy, or was Billy aware of you from the show and stuff? Or?
I don't know if he was yet. We sort of just I was supposed to come early and watch him in the booth, but I was late because it was LA and I didn't know where I was going and all this stuff. So I just got there when he was done. We shook hands, said hello, and that was it. But then I met him much later on a podcast and stuff. So now we know each other.
Very cool.
But I was like, oh my God, it's Billy West from the Howard Stern Show. I mean, it was just an insane experience. And then that cartoon went to Comic-Con that year. So I came back in July. We were on a panel at Comic-Con that year. It was the craziest thing ever. And that's when I was like, all right, I'm moving back. And by August, I lived here.
Yeah.
So it just, never in my wildest imagination. I didn't dream of this. I didn't have dreams of this. Some people are like, you're living your dream. No, this was not, this was an accident. Like my dream was to become a college professor in New York and be part of the literati and go to the Met to watch opera. Like that's what I thought would happen to me. I never knew that this was going to happen. So, it's pretty amazing every day. I am really grateful. I do my thanks to the gods every day that this is going on because it's just incredible. And again, I deserve it because my life sucked.
That's right.
It did.
That's right.
Yeah.
You banked a whole lot of, I believe in balance, and you just built onto that iron ball until the iron ball cracked open and said, here, this is what we've been working on inside.
Yeah.
Here's some goodness.
That's
Go
the
play
way
with
to think
cool
of it.
people, have some sunlight.
Yeah.
And keep the shell, but it's open now.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
a shell.
It is. No, it is. And it's just so awesome to like be with people who know and who do what I do and who love movies the way I do. Cause I've always been like a crazy movie fan. And like once I came here, so like when I was at William Morris, like people would talk about movies in the lobby every day. And I'm like, oh my God, I can talk about movies all day with these people. You know, they go to them, they like them. Not that my friends at home didn't, but I was always like more, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just sort of being with like-minded freaks who can do impressions and voices and stuff, and just it's just astounding how quickly it's my life was like the first half of my life was something else, and now it's this whole new life and a whole new language talking about the industry and the voiceover and like specs and looping and ADR and all this new language that I learned in the last 4 years. And it's just, I don't know, it's like I can step outside and look, and it's really quite remarkable. It really is. That's really cool. And I'm sitting here with you on a podcast.
Here we are sitting here talking about stuff.
On Cahuenga.
I
know. And I know that word, and I know my way around LA, and I don't know. I love it.
We're like 200 yards from Universal Studios.
I know. And Vivid Studios.
That's right down the street.
Right.
And Warner Brothers right over there.
And Mulholland Drive.
And Mulholland Drive snakes up behind where we are.
It's magical.
It is.
It hasn't lost the magic for me yet. Yes, I hate the traffic, but
I didn't love the traffic in Detroit.
I didn't love it in New Jersey, although I gotta tell you, it's minimal compared to what it is here. But I don't get to ride my bike every day of the year in New Jersey, or go to the beach every day, or hike. I hike like crazy, and it's like my sanctuary. I don't know. I love it here. It's the best.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's ups and downs, but I have to keep my eye on, like, look where you are.
Yeah.
You're in paradise.
Sometimes that's all there is to grab onto, and it's more than enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about waking up and, I love Grand Rapids. I love my Grand Rapids people. I love my family and friends back there. But I think about waking up in the middle of February, or even in the middle of August, buried in allergies and, and
humidity.
Yeah. And praying that in the Grand Rapids Press this week, maybe there will be an audition for a play.
Oh my goodness. Is that what was going on?
Yeah.
See, you had the dream. Like you knew you wanted to act and stuff.
Yeah. I am literally living what I did in college.
What do you mean?
And, when I was in college, I went to a liberal arts school, Calvin College, Calvin Knights, blah, 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 yeah. And I was there for 4 years, and I was theater program initially. And, but I wasn't satisfied in it. And I wanted to do movies and TV and video games, even though video games at that point were Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
It was like rings. And that's really the only voice.
That's like the only one that I know. I played that one.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
And there's a new game right now called Leo's Treasure or Leo's Journey. That's basically Sonic but slowed down. It's like Sonic lost his legs and became a fluffy pom-pom. But it's really fun and the graphics are beautiful.
Oh
anyway.
my God.
I stopped doing the plays. The last play I did was Streetcar Named Desire, and I played Mitch in that. And then we did, we had something in the theater program called Smorg, which was the second Saturday of the run. We would throw a banquet and parody the show.
Oh, fun.
So I wrote the parody with a couple people and would do impressions of the people in the show.
Right.
And it was everything. That was what really turned my head.
Comedy.
Sketch comedy.
Yeah.
In particular sketch. Because I knew about improv and I knew about Saturday Night Live and I knew about SCTV, but I didn't know where I wanted to put my energy. And as an impressionist, as a young impressionist, in particular doing cartoon characters, and then as I got older, being able to do adults, it was a place I could put that energy.
Yeah.
And then improv came to someone who was in undergrad with us had been elsewhere and learned a bunch of Viola Spolin improv games.
Oh.
So we sat down there outside the theater on a Monday night from 10 to midnight and improvised.
How old are you?
19, 20, 21.
Oh, so nice and young. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And Debbie was older, but was like she had some experience. And then then everything just my second 2 years of college, I hosted the air band competition. I was the MC, so I was writing my own stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was DJing in the radio station and kind of thumbing my nose at whatever they said you could play and could not play and being all like, young Covenant rebel. But did kind of all of it, but didn't really do any theater, but would jump at an opportunity to perform.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's kind of what I'm doing now is like.
You really are living the dream. You're in movies. I mean,
know.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
You're that guy, or you're going to be that guy that like people see walk into a coffee shop. They're like, hey, that's the guy. And I know that guy from like, you're that guy.
Can I tell you it's starting to happen?
Yeah.
And it's so weird.
Isn't it weird?
It's weird. Just, I'm an extrovert. I don't crave anonymity.
Yeah.
But like even this morning, I went into a place to get a cup of coffee and some soup for my wife who was recovering. And I just felt this weird sort of like thing. And it's like, what I did in Nightcrawler is 45 seconds long.
Yeah.
But it's still, you're there.
It's 45 seconds on camera is a pretty long time in a major movie like that. It really is. You're that guy. Every time I go to Pete's in Studio City, because I teach at Voice Tracks West, every time I'm there, I see one of those guys. Like I'm like, hey, that's that guy from. And I'm like, I know I've seen him in 25 movies at least. His name escapes me right now. But that's you, and that's amazing.
It's weird. It's weird to come here and not. And there was because I was the on-camera guy in Denny's right before I moved out here, and the Denny's spots ran like gangbusters.
Oh
out here.
yeah.
That was how I got to see ESD. It was Bo.
Oh.
Bo sent me an email while I was in Chicago. She was like, "Hey, Burt Reynolds was the voice of Denny's, and now it's you. Who are you? What's your story? You coming out here? How you doing? What's going on?" And and then we stayed in touch, and I was already very happy. I was with Innovative in Chicago, and I was building a relationship with Innovative out here. But after meeting with them when we moved out here, I felt
Were you planning on moving here anyway, or you came
Yeah.
because Bill called you?
We were planning on moving to Los Angeles without a doubt. And we wanted to do it before Ilsa got too dug into her community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we had one of the worst winters on record.
It was the worst winter I ever seen.
Oh my God. You were still in Jersey in 2011 when Snowmageddon hit, weren't you?
No, I moved here in August 2011. I missed it all.
So it was that winter.
Was that year.
It was February of 2011.
Yes.
So we moved here.
Oh, February. Yeah, yes, I was there.
It was chest deep snow in the streets of Chicago. I had a session downtown for Advanced Auto Parts, I think. And I had to get to the train, but the train wasn't running all the way down to where we were. And you just couldn't drive. There was nothing.
Crazy.
Cars were stuck on Lakeshore Drive.
Oh my God.
Like they were driving home from their commute and they spent the night.
And you were like, no more of this.
Yeah, I was kind of no more of this before. And I'd grown up and I was a paper boy. I remember the winter of 1978.
Yeah, but who wants to stay in it?
Who wants to stay in it?
Just because you were born into it. Every day I would get up, scrape ice off my car and go, why do I live here? Why do I keep doing this to myself?
I'm an adult. I have a choice of where I can be.
I know.
And it still took me from my divorce to when we finally moved, a very long time to get out here.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to come out here with representation and with some work behind me. You know what I mean? That was sort of the promise I'd made to myself. And I do think that helps. And it was,
absolutely,
and it's attainable. Both of us were able to make a transition to this town.
Yeah.
Already with at least, I didn't have theatrical representation, but I did have voice and I was able to hit the ground running day one.
Well, I think that's a huge, I wasn't going to move here unless I met with SBV, Abrams, obviously, because I was with them in New York, and William Morris, and that just happens to be the one that I clicked with. But I was like, I'm not going to move out here unless I have an agent. So I came out here in July and met William Morris, and they already started sending me auditions back in New Jersey before I moved out here another month. So I was like, all right, but I mean, it was that first year. It was like, I didn't book anything like maybe one thing that year. And I was like, oh my God, what is this life? What is this life of just going there every day, driving across town, sitting and waiting in a lobby for hours, reading copy and never ever hearing anything like that at 40 years old, completely new to me and absolutely terrified, the most terrifying thing in the world. Now it's just like, now it's part of my life. It's part of my fabric,
That's right.
I've made my peace with it, because there was a long time when I would cry myself to sleep here every night, just go, what did I do? Well, how can I live like this? I can't go on like this. And now it's sort of just like, I understood I had to get a side job. And so I started teaching the voiceover, and I understood that I had to like become involved in other things, because you can't just sit and audition every day and never hear back and live like that. You've got to do other things. So thank God, like I was able to somehow turn that into something, you know? Yeah. But it's still really exciting. But I wanted to ask you about a theatrical agent, because I want to get one of those.
Yes.
Because I feel like being on America's Got Talent and the Howard Stern Show and some other things that I've done, like maybe somebody might be interested. But can you just call up and be like, hey, I'd like a meeting with you? Will they even entertain that?
You absolutely can.
What did you do?
I went through actors that I tried first, cold submissions. And I was already with Innovative. CESD was like, we have you for voice and commercial. We don't really have an adult on camera.
Yeah.
And the vibe I got was, it's all right. You're good.
Yeah.
Just, and it's one of those things too, where it's like, this is the relationship I'm trying to protect and want to protect and want to nurture and build. And as much as I want to add on to this level of the relationship, I was also like, I don't want to damage this relationship by pressing on what you guys are doing for me is great. Yeah. I love what you're doing for me. Could you think you could get me an opportunity with these guys?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of like, I'm going to be very content with where I am and continue to build and then find on my own. So, Actors Access has this thing, and it's called Talent Link. And for $35, they send out an email to every manager and every talent agent in town. And they say, these are the actors who are currently seeking representation.
Oh.
Take a look. And it's your headshot, it's your bio, it's your and all that stuff.
Huh.
I don't know how, when I did that, out of that, I had 2 meetings with 2 agents. I ended up signing with one, and I was with her for about a year and a half. She got me on Parks and Recreation.
Oh, nice.
She got me in Behind the Candelabra. And from Behind the Candelabra, my managers found me, and they were like, we saw you in Behind the Candelabra. Wow. What's your story? Are you looking for management? So I met with those guys, and they got me Danny Collins and Nightcrawler in the first month I was with them.
See, that's what you want it to come to you. That's the best way.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then we evaluated things, and another agency made a pitch, and I met with them and ended up switching to them theatrically. And they're actually someone who like Bo worked with back in the day. So it was really kind of cool to come back around, and I absolutely adore them. And they got me Batman, they got me
Amazing.
Richie Rich.
So you had no like theatrical reel. Right. You just sent that Actors Access link thing?
I had a reel, but the stuff that I had on there was like either comedy stuff that I had done back in the Midwest, my impressions, because it was like Saturday Night Live comes calling, or it's like the general open call for funny people who do impressions. So then I put that out, which is great, but my bread and butter is going to be like desk cop. I'm a character actor. You know what I mean? As long as I'm, what I discovered about myself is like when I'm below 200 pounds, I'm not a character actor.
Right.
I can hold like best friend leading man, like bigger stuff.
Yeah.
But when I let myself get to this weight, then I'm a little bit more like Officer Jerry.
Yeah. A big fat cop. Not big fat, but you know what I mean.
But yeah. And so that's my constant struggle with that. But at any rate, that's what it is. But Talent Link ultimately was the thing that got me introduced to people, and they do it monthly.
Yeah.
And I did, I went to casting director workshops. I went to actor, agent nights and stuff like that. But ultimately it was like, looking at it through their eyes, I'm a developmental talent. I'm someone who's done a lot of commercial work and has a strong quality relationship with the commercial agency.
Right.
I've got voiceover representation. So I'm coming in exclusively theatrically, which might not be as appealing as someone's coming in across the board for on camera.
Right.
So, like, what can I bring to it? I got to have strong theatrical credit. You bring social media following, you bring national exposure from both Howard Stern as well as America's Got Talent. So it's one of those things, like, we're all walking through the woods with different paths, but we all got different experiences. So like, I think that's the kind of thing that could be helpful. You know what I mean? Probably should have
struck while the America's Got Talent iron was hot.
Maybe, but then again, like, you've built other stuff from that. You've got stuff that you did with the Impression guys, that you did with Jim and those guys.
Yeah, that's
you know
true.
What I mean?
Yeah,
so, like,
that's TV.
Yeah, you can cobble together a reel. You don't need a ton.
I'm still thinking like that Bloomfield, New Jersey person is the problem. Is I people are like, you're Rachel Butera. I'm like, yeah, so when I have that problem with, like, sort of embracing what I've got going on and believing that I can do more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I've just been, like, satisfied with the voiceover thing, but I mean, this, like, funniness has to be, it's got to be spread,
Yes.
It, like, has to. So it just can't be contained with the voiceover, I don't think. It needs to be something else. I don't know what. But I just keep having that feeling like I should be doing more with it, even beyond stand-up.
Absolutely. I think I do believe, and you mentioned it earlier about, like, having to have a side job it's not just financial. It is, just being diverse in where you perform and what you do. And that has given me the greatest strength and endurance and confidence, especially days where, like, I've got, like, maybe, like, and I'm spoiled. In terms of auditions that come in.
Yeah.
So on a day where it's a lighter day, and I feel guilty for feeling,
you should, you bastard.
I know, but it's like, I'm a white guy, and, gradually olding, but I've got experience in different things, and that helps open up opportunities.
Yeah, for sure.
So just throwing more fishing rods out there.
Yep.
I find that, the on-camera side of things is valuable. And it's the beautiful thing about what we do as character actors, and especially as versatile character actors, is that we're very marketable.
Yeah.
And, this whole thing about, like, I can work at 220. I can work at, I don't have to look like Brad Pitt, because there is a Brad Pitt.
Right.
So I can, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm not going to be the leading lady, and I'm okay with that. I'm very happy being, like, whatever, the funny, whatever it is, next door neighbor. I don't care what.
Pays the same.
Yeah, pays the same.
Pays the same.
I know. I mean, it's just like, just the fact to be able to say I did something like that. Yeah. Like, I mean, last week in New York, I worked on a new animated movie that I'm not really allowed to talk about.
Oh my God.
But with Jeffrey Tambor, Sam Rockwell, and Steve Coogan and David Tell. And I was sitting there at the table with them. I was, Yeah. So it's just absolutely insane. And I don't know. I'm just excited by, like, any small thing, at this point. It's just the greatest.
It's the greatest.
It really is. It's the greatest.
When you teach, like, what's your, not necessarily your teaching approach, but when you started to figure out getting comfortable behind a microphone, what was your process for making that transition? Like, because it is a different thing of talking into a microphone versus doing bits in a cubicle.
Oh, totally.
So what was your process for figuring those things out?
I think I'm still figuring it out, honestly, because there are still times where I'm at my computer and I'm reading the copy and I love what I'm doing. And then I walk into my booth and I stand in front of the mic and it doesn't come out the same way. There's something happening from my computer seat to being in front of a mic where I still have that thing that, like, I'm now acting, I'm now performing, I now have to turn it on and do this, rather than that natural thing we just do in the cubicle, in somebody's office, entertaining your friends, in the lunchroom and all that stuff. So for me, I don't think it's quite gotten to that seamless part yet. And I'm really, I mean, I've taken the workshops, I've done all the workshops and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know that I learned that much, maybe a few tidbits here and there. Honestly, it's just been getting in there every day, doing it over and over again, figuring out, how much air to give it, how to breathe, like this, just kind of winging it, basically. Yeah. Because, I can drop all that money on those workshops, but ultimately it's just, I feel you just don't learn that much once you already sort of know what we know. You don't take workshops, you're beyond workshops at this point.
It depends on the workshop.
I mean, you take it to meet the people. That's what it's for.
Yeah, yes. A lot of the casting director workshops in particular, and then like Hope Levy has, Voice Actor Network stuff, and I've done
hers,
and I've done several of those. But again, you're right; those are much more about like I want to get in and hear how Dave Wright does it at Disney, what he likes in his auditions, that kind of stuff, to get more really specific. But for like hardcore training and stuff like that, like I went to Nancy Wolfson for a while.
Oh, you did go to her?
I love Nancy.
Yeah.
She's tough as nails, but she was like I had a lot of training outside, but my biggest, because I'm an ear person and learned that way, that was so much my training, because I'm a mimic, where I was like, tonight at Applebee's, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you recognize the cadence.
Right.
So it was one of the things that Nancy was really good for me was, it was like voiceover therapy, because I encountered the exact same thing you were talking about being in New York and like nailing this and nailing that, and then moving to this market after all this energy, and all of a sudden it's just a desert.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way. And working with Nancy was helpful, not because I was just working, but because she was like, that's normal. And that's part of making a transition to a new market. And you have to find into yourself and reconnect. Just connect to your core voice.
Yeah. Connect
to those things. Those are the things that are going to save you.
Right.
It's not that you just happen to be good in New York and now you suck.
Yeah.
It's your entire life has radically changed, and you have to find your sense of self in it.
God, yeah. I mean, moving is, they put it up there with what? The death of some, it's like one of the top 3 biggest stresses in your life.
Yeah.
Moving now 3,000 miles from everyone you know and love. I didn't come out here with a husband or anything. I came alone.
Yeah.
Didn't really know anyone. And just had to like find my way. Forget about it. It made my hair turn white. I'm all white underneath this brown. I'm serious. And like, I had high blood pressure. I mean, on and on. It can go. It was the biggest stress of my entire, probably even worse than my father dying, because when he died, it was probably a relief at that point, because he'd been sick for so long.
Yeah.
But moving so far and just being away from everybody and doing, and I wasn't doing entertainment really there. So it was a brand new career and a brand new life, 3,000 miles away. I can't believe I didn't start doing heroin. I mean, I just, I couldn't afford it. That's why.
Right.
I blew through 20 grand that I saved in 1 year, and then it was like, nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, it would have done well to meet with Nancy, but I just didn't have the money to meet with anybody at that time. So once I started booking some things here and there, I was like, okay, now I can take a work, just like it was back in the corporate job. Once I have money to make a demo, then this will happen. As soon as I started booking some stuff here, I'm like, okay, now I have money to take some workshops and get to know some people. So it's this kind of,
it's a cycle in that way.
Yeah.
And the thing that saved me in particular when I wasn't booking anything, and I got this marvelous job working at Disneyland.
Oh, that's right.
And that was more than a survival job for me. It was meeting a community of improvisers who are brilliantly funny, and being part of that, and then making the money. Yeah. But kind of buying into the Disney paradigm. And it's not just, sunshine and it's because, it's like you put on that face, but it's still like, these are real challenges, and you'll be working on the street, and then you'll meet someone who's from Make-A-Wish, or you meet someone, like my first day on the job, some guests came in who just came from a funeral, and the person who had just passed, this was their favorite place.
Oh God.
And they were here paying honor to that person.
And what did you have to do?
Stay in character?
And
support? No, I didn't feel the need to cheer them up. I felt the need to empathize. And be like, yeah, well, you came to the right place.
Wow.
And and it's just a stream. It's a stream of people. And sometimes you get people who are at the end of their day and their end of their rope. And then you have people who are from another country who don't speak English.
Oh my God.
So my job, I felt, was to be more visual than verbal. And,
what was your character?
I play, Calvin the cop on Buena Vista Street. And it's like a 1920s police officer.
And people would just come up to you and just say things?
Our job, it's cool, because the job is, the way we do it is, it's called catch and release. So rather than, because it can be stressful for people to have to come over to you or interact. Some people gravitate towards it, but other people don't. So what I appreciate about that is that I get to control the engagement.
Mm.
Hi, how you doing? Good to see. Basically, a basic example of this is, hey, how are you? It's good to see you. Oh my God, I'm so happy you come. Listen, you're going to have a great time. Have fun. See you later. And in that way, I control the entire thing. I give you some energy that supports what we're doing, and I let you go. And you don't have to do, okay, thank you. We're going to go ride rides now. Yeah. You don't have to have that dismount.
Right.
So that's part of the training. And talk about helping you in an audition.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Huh. Walk in, be positive. I'm so happy to be here. This was great. Get done with stuff and be like, because there's always that awkward moment of like finishing my contract and there's another guy waiting to come in. So if you control that and be like, this was awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. Yeah. Then you can control the dismount and it makes it easier for them. And they're like, well, that was nice to work with that person.
Right. Totally. I was doing like some on-camera commercial stuff for a while. I absolutely hated it. But, it was amazing. Like there was always one person in the bunch that talking too much, the casting person, you know what I mean? Like you could just feel that like they were making it difficult for everybody. And, it's funny how there's always one of those people, you know, it's probably a nervous thing of just talking too much, but I always feel so bad for them. And I'm like, just shut up, get in and get out.
Right.
You know,
I mean, we're in the business of meeting strangers all day long, strangers who could change your life.
That's the most to me, that's one of the most amazing things is how it really is all relationships out here more than anything. Yeah. Like I can't tell you how many people I've met on Facebook that have somehow like gotten me jobs just because they like the things I write on Facebook, and then we become friends and then I get a job from them. Or people you meet, at this thing and then they talk to this person for you. Like that's really the name of the game out here. And if you can't play that, if you're bad at it or you don't go out and you don't meet people, it's going to be really tough. Like I'm a very sociable person, as you are too. Yeah. Like we meet people well and we talk well and when we meet them and stuff, that's really like more than talent out here. I feel like that's really what it is, So if you're if you're an introverted person, I mean, I'm an introvert, but if you're an introvert who also can't really meet people, I think you're going to have a lot tougher of a time out here. Yeah. Because you got to be able to talk to people.
You got to be able to do that.
Because people actually want to talk to you here. See, I came out here thinking nobody would want to talk to me. Like, oh, nope, that door's closed. Nope, we don't want to meet you. And I found the opposite to be true. People want to read your scripts. They want to see your content. They want to meet with you. They want to have coffee with you. I was shocked by that. Like, I can't think of any examples, but just there were some people who were like semi-famous or semi-well-known and stuff that I was like, hey, can I take you out for coffee? And they're like, sure. I was absolutely shocked by that. Like, I feel confident that, if I wrote a script right now or if I had something like, I could get in to show it at a couple of different places. Like, whereas living in New Jersey, I would be like, how could I ever do that? They don't care about me. They don't know me. They would shut the door in my face. It's just not true. You just have to have you just have to be
sociable. The willingness to put yourself out there because people are looking for the next thing to put up.
I still am shocked by how, I want to say easy it is to sort of get your stuff seen. It's not as difficult as somebody might think.
I think that's one of the things that is that truth I'm having a hard time accepting. Why? I really am. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that question. Not yet. I think it's because I know it to be true intellectually, but I do feel like maybe it's residual to what we were talking about earlier.
Probably. It's that sense of self-worth. Well, I mean, I still feel that too. I'm like, every once in a while I'll be like, they're not going to want to meet me. Nobody will want to talk to me. But I know that's not true because I just said it and I've experienced it before. It's just that fear of rejection. It's just that fear of like feeling like I'm a nobody again. Right. And that they might not want to talk to me or whatever. But it's just a made up fear. It's not really the truth because people are constantly looking for content out here. they just want to keep making money and produce. If they think they can make money off of you, they're going to do whatever. You know what I mean? That's all it is. It's money. So if you can prove to somebody that they can make money off of you, you can do anything you want out here. You got to be a good talker, good playing the game. I'm not that good at it.
I hear you. I'll get better at it one day at a time.
I guess so. I mean, I think as long as you like believe at first that it's possible, then it can go from there.
That's right.
You know, just have to like put it inside you that like, I'm worth it, whatever, all that stupid stuff. Like, seriously, like, I have a value out here. I have a worth out here. People know me out here. And to just like sort of believe that about yourself without feeling like a douche about it is how to do it.
Yeah.
I think.
What do you say to someone who's out there somewhere, east of us,
out there.
who's a mimic? Who has the ability to do the kind of stuff that we do and is living in a place that, I'll just randomly select Louisville, Kentucky, but is in Louisville, Kentucky and is, cracking up their office and doesn't, I don't know if I know for myself that it all seemed to be such a change to get rid of, I'm talking about my divorce, but that idea of, to say I'm done with these curtains because I'm going to lose these curtains.
Yeah.
Am I prepared for that level of change in exchange for new freedom?
Yeah.
But I think that's applicable to anybody who's in a situation who makes a phone call and is, I'm part of the reason why I'm fascinated by you, not only because we share similar overlapping skill sets, but that one day you got up, you heard something on the radio, you made a phone call and you changed your life.
Yeah.
What do you say as encouragement or as discouragement, or how do you prepare for, or what was your, not necessarily what's your advice, Rachel, but
my advice.
Well, what worked for you?
I didn't know it would change my life. I honestly thought Howard Stern didn't think women were funny because in years past he did say that.
Yeah.
And I didn't think he would pick my impressions, and so I wasn't going to submit them. At first I was all excited. I'm like, this is the moment I've been waiting for. I've always wanted to be on the show. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Then it was like the weekend before it was due, and I was feeling really down. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be funny. I don't know. He's never going to pick me. He doesn't like girls. I'm not going to do it. My ex-boyfriend, thank God, was like, you're doing it. Sit down and do it. So I cranked out 6 things. I mailed them the MP3s. And, I really wasn't sure. I wasn't. And a week later, he's saying my name on the air. He's playing all my impressions. I'm shaking and crying in the car. I can't believe what's happening. So I just didn't have that kind of faith, but in this case, only because I'm a woman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, I know my impressions are good. I know I can do all these things, but in that particular case, it was like, I'm a girl. They're never going to pick me. So that was a different feeling than anything I've really had before.
I understand.
And once the opportunities arose, like once I won that contest, then Abrams called, then I sort of felt like, okay, something can change here.
Yeah.
And so I started doing audiobooks. And so for that whole year at my corporate job, I'd be like, can I leave early to do an audiobook? And my boss he would let me go.
Awesome.
And he was letting me run to auditions in New York, and he was letting me. So it was a slow transition of like taking time off the corporate job, sacrificing, making the money there little by little until the full transition a year later was complete. And at that point, it was just all like a dream, becomes a blur at that point.
Yeah.
So again, it wasn't like I was like, I'm changing my life right now. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm kicking this one horse town. It just, the events just unfolded in this sort of way where I started to believe like, maybe I don't have to do this job anymore. Maybe I can actually get out of it. Because all I really wanted in life was to not work a 9-to-5 job in an office.
Yeah.
And now I haven't done that in 4.5 years. So like there's a price to pay for that as well.
Yeah.
You're poor, but I'm free. I can hike. I can ride my bike. I can do this in the middle of the day, So it's like, I think if somebody has the dream, I mean, it's so trite, but just do it because life is so damn short.
Yeah.
It's going to be over in the blink of an eye. And if you're sitting there miserable and you have some way to get out of it, just don't be afraid to get out of it. You will never, ever regret it. All the hardship I've had the last 4 years, not paying my rent, all this crying, a loneliness, I will never regret making that change.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone ever really would, you know, if they are that upset and miserable in their job and they have this talent and they want to do it, just find a way to do it because you're going to die soon. No, I mean, that's really the truth. Yeah. Listen, I didn't have kids or a husband or a house. I had absolutely nothing keeping me there. Nothing. Yeah. I was free. People don't have that situation. They got families. I can't give those people advice because I don't know what that's like. So, but if you're a free person, if you're a single person with no ties, no commitment, and you can change your life in a totally different way, you'll never ever regret it. You'll never be on your deathbed going, I wish I didn't move to California, Los Angeles, where it's sunny every day.
Huh? What?
I wish I didn't do that.
What are you talking about?
I wish I stayed in Minnesota.
Huh?
Rotting at my insurance desk every day.
It's your move.
That's never going to happen. So some people say it's easier said than done, but listen, it was not. I mean, I was scared of everything. I had terrible anxiety. I had a whole negative family telling me don't go, don't do anything. I had no money. I had nothing going for me, and I still did it. And it's the best thing you'll ever do if you can do it. You know, if you've got somehow can muster the fortitude to do it. I think it's the greatest thing in the world to be able to do.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
And I love your point of that seismic change is one step.
Yep.
It's one step. It's having talking yourself out of not doing it.
Yeah. It's really just fear. I mean, it's sad actually how many decisions we make are guided by fear, or decisions we don't make are guided by this made up fear, that we don't have when we're kids, and it comes in at around 10, 11 years old, and, and then it really kicks in sort of in your 30s, that fear.
Yeah.
That fear gets really strong in your 30s. In your 20s, you're still like, whatever, but something happens in your 30s, mid-30s, where you become afraid to change. You become afraid to leave things. You're attached to things, and you just have this fear of all kinds of irrational fears of all kinds of stuff. And it just sucks that as adults that happens to us.
Yeah.
But it's not real.
It's not real.
It's not a real thing.
And sometimes it comes out of nowhere, prompted by nothing.
Yeah.
Like you just wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's right. And something in the back of your head is telling you that you're not going to make rent.
Yeah.
Even though it's the 5th.
Right.
And rent isn't due for another 25, 26 days.
I go through that every month. Yeah.
Every month.
Every month. I'm just like, this is it. I'm going down. I'm going to be in one of those tents across the street from Hollywood Boulevard.
Right.
It's not going to happen. And then you literally have to stop and like examine what's going on and be like, no, just lie to yourself, whatever it is. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. It works out. I'm still here. I'm 44 years old in 2 weeks and I'm still doing it.
Still
and it's
here.
like, it's still going okay. But it is like buried in your subconscious, and your subconscious just wants to screw with you constantly. Like it just constantly wants to tell you no, negative, you can't, you're going to fail. And I don't know why the human brain is designed that way. I don't see the purpose of it.
I do think it's self-protection. I think it's the thing that keeps us from jumping off of cliffs.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
If you've got a wingsuit,
yeah.
It's at least you can remind yourself that that's there, or maybe it keeps us in line. It's the group mind that keeps us in line, or whatever. But it is one of the things that I do love about this particular community. Those of us who are and our brothers and sisters elsewhere across the country who do the improbable and make a living in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Or New Orleans,
Miami,
or Miami,
places.
All these markets that you are a local actor. And like, I mean, I was able to make my transition here because of the work I did in Detroit.
Yeah. Totally.
Without that, and Toledo, and like the guys I worked for letting me go.
Right.
Letting me go. And saying, I got an audition for Billy Crystal this afternoon in Detroit.
Yes.
Can I leave at noon? And they go, okay.
Yeah, that's like my guy too. He would let me go. So it's all these little like things, you want everything to happen so fast. We just, as humans, want that instant gratification. But when you stop and look at all the little steps along the way, like him letting you go do that, you know, if he hadn't let you go do that one little piece, like, what would have happened? Who knows, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to, this is so not me, but you really have to count those blessings, I guess, like, and just realize and thank people, you know, like these small things for happening, that put you where you are. It's just, it's really, I don't know, I'm becoming too California living out here, like losing some of my cynicism, but I'm just trying to be more appreciative of things because I find that when I do, you know, I'm not vision boarding or anything. I'm just finding that when I like can sit back and say like, I'm just so happy I can be here in LA. I'm so happy I get to do this job and that I've met these awesome people and all these new people that are in my life that weren't there 4 years ago. You know what I mean? You, Scott, Eric, Chris Cox, everybody, Amelia, like I didn't know these people. They were not in my life or part of my life or shaping my life 4 years ago. And now they are. There's so many and there's so many great people. Yeah. It's just, even if nothing else happened, like I could never say that it was the wrong move. You know what I mean? Just based on that alone.
I've got friends for life.
Yeah.
In this business where the expectation to and what was told to me about flaky California and I encountered that just as much in every other market, if not more so than I did here. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, the friendships and the people I've met just at one talent agency in one little lobby. I know. You know, and supporting each other and laughing at each other's bits and just doing stuff. It's like, you know, it's the kind of life I want to be living of like hanging out with my friends and, you know,
I know. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm kind of living the life I always wanted to live. It's like really weird to say that or think that about yourself.
It'd be nice to have an extra 50 grand lying around.
It'd be nice to have a husband, but, you know, short of that.
Baby steps.
That's right. Totally baby steps. What's happening right now that's going to make me meet my husband a year from now?
That's right.
I don't think anything. Damn it. Okay. Real quick. I want to talk about, vocal cord insurance. Do you know about this or have you heard about this? No. Me either. Well, I sort of heard something about it and I reached out to this company. I'm like, do you insure vocal cords? And they were like, we don't, but we have like I don't know, it's kind of like insurance, how there's a insurance company, then brokers or whatever. There's some like broker here in LA or something that you can go to. I need to talk to them about that because like, do you ever think about?
I think about, I wasn't really thinking about it until David Sobolov came in here and told me he lost his voice for 6 months one time. So yeah. And Sobolov is like, you know, he was like, it was scary. Yeah, I mean, it was scary. Like, what do I do? Yeah. What do I do? Eventually, this stuff is going to stop running.
I know.
And then, you know, so like, and you know, if Betty Grable can insure her legs or Michael Flatley can insure his feet.
I think we could find somebody to do, and I'm dead serious that I'm looking into that. Like, I want to do that because why not? It's your instrument. It's your job. Why can't you insure it like everything else?
Well, if you are listening and you know anything about this particular issue, please tweet Rachel. How do people get in touch with you?
Rachel A. Butera on Twitter.
At Rachel A. Butera on Twitter, and you can
Butera.
Butera, and you can also tweet the show all over voiceover. Or my handle is at all over VO. And the website, allovervoiceover.com. Do you have a site or anything like that?
I do, but it needs to be redone. It's just rachelbutera.com. Okay. All my jokes are on Facebook, as you know. Yes. So if you really want the down and dirty essence of me, you're going to find it on my Facebook page or my Twitter page. Or sometimes I forget to tweet. For some reason, I'm hooked on the Facebook thing.
If you I did this with, I think my fan page that I have 187 likes.
Oh yeah, me too.
Is I've linked, the fan page to my Twitter.
I did that too. Except I never write on my fan page.
I never write on my fan page either.
Ever.
I write for my friends.
Me too.
And my friends are on my fan page.
Yeah,
it's not like I have fans on there.
I know. It's not
so
working
crazy.
for me.
I'm trying so desperately to figure it out.
I know.
Are you on Instagram too?
Yeah, it's Rachel A. Butera as well on Instagram.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's about it.
Dude, thank you so much for
coming.
Are we done? Yeah, we're kind of done.
We weren't really funny at all.
I don't care.
Okay.
I feel like it was a really true analysis of what it is to live this life and to do it, and the ups and downs and all that other kind of stuff. And it's exactly what I was hoping for.
Good.
If people want to study with you, what were they? Voice Tracks West?
Well, no, I teach through Edge Studio.
Oh, through Edge Studio.
Yeah.
Great.
So, So it's funny because they're the ones who did my demo 7-8 years ago or whatever it is. And now I'm coaching for them too. So yeah, Edge Studio in New York.
Awesome.
And then I teach at Voice Tracks West, for them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
Rachel A. Butera, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. So much fun.
If you like the show, well, I'm about to say that in the promo, so never mind. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Peace. This has been All Over VoiceOver with Kiff VH. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please go to iTunes and give us a positive rating. It truly helps. Follow me on Twitter at KiffVH, or on Instagram at KiffVH, or on Vero at KiffVH. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you soon. Claim victory and depart the field.
Werewolf?
Yeah.